In this video we're going to take a look at some more examples of the VLOOKUP function. In this case what we want to do is we want to look up a salary in a tax table over here, find the salary or the nearest value that is less than the salary over here. In this case $43,999 would be matched up with 40,000, and then move over one column to find the tax rate and return that in column C. So we need to do the lookup function, and that's under my most recently used because I've been using it for some other examples. And our lookup value is this. Our table array, don't include the headings in the table array, just include the data, and the column I want to go to is column 2. And it tells me his tax rate is 8%. Now if I copy that down the page, you may have noticed I made a mistake when I did this, and I did not make this an absolute cell reference, which is why I'm getting some errors here. If I double click on any one of these, it's kind of hard to see the top of the table here, but you see the table keeps sliding down the page rather than staying up here. So what I need to do is I need to go back and do some absolute cell references. So let's click on this, click on the E3 and hit F4, click on F22 and hit function key F4 again to put your dollar signs in. Now it's absolute. Now if I copy it down, wait a second, let's try that again. I didn't hit the enter key last time. Okay, now get your fill handle, drag it all the way down, and now it works. No matter where I click over here, the green box is always around the tax table. It's not moving. Now there's another way to do this that actually makes it even a little bit easier, I think. And that is naming your tables. We haven't done this before, but you can assign a name to any range in Excel. This box up here is actually labeled. Let's move off it again, try it again. It's labeled the name box. And you can select a range. I better select my range first. And give it a name. And basically the rules are start it with a letter and use digits, letters and underscores, and don't put any spaces in here. So I'm going to call this tax table. And now I can refer to it. And whenever I highlight this, the name of it appears up here. If I get something else, like an extra row, that's not tax table. It's only if I select the exact range that I defined earlier. So now I can refer to tax table, and when I copy it in a formula like this, it's treated as an absolute cell reference. So let's go try this again. Do VLOOKUP. I'm going to look up the salary. I'm going to look it up in tax table, and watch what happens when I get done typing tax table. As soon as it recognizes it, it puts the list there for me. And I want column 2 and hit the enter key. Now there's no dollar signs in there, but it's also not a typical cell reference. It's a named cell reference. And when I copy it down, doesn't matter where I click, where the green box is. The green box is always going to be around the tax table. So that's kind of a nice way to make your life a little bit easier when you're dealing with tables and lookup functions. Here's another example. I've got some web page data, and I've got some ID numbers for my web pages, and that's what gets returned in the data. And I've got the number of views for each one of these pages in the last month, and percentage. And what I want to do though is, this doesn't mean anything to me. I want to look up the page name, and the pages are over here. And I've got a whole bunch of pages over here in a table, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to call these page names, and I've assigned that a name. It's on a different page, but that's not a problem. And there is one thing we need to notice about this though, and that is the names here, or the numbers here, are not in ascending order, which is usually what you want when you're doing a lookup table. But Excel will still let us do a lookup that way. We give the lookup value, which is the page ID. We give the table array, which I called page names. Column index is column 2 in that table. And then we haven't used this optional argument before, but this is where if we don't have the data in ascending order, and we do know that there'll be an exact match, if we put false in here, and click on OK, it works. That is our home page. That's the one you'd expect would have the most views. And if we copy that down the page, it works. So even if the data is not in ascending order, if you have values over here that you know will be an exact match, it will still work. Now we can't do that with text table because in order for that to work, we'd have to have hundreds of thousands of values in our table. So we're going to do some approximations when we look up salaries. But sometimes you're looking up exact values. And when you do that, if you make that final argument false, it doesn't matter if the keys in the table are in order or not. Okay, here's another simple example. This one, they are in ascending order again. I'm going to look up a quantity in this table over here, and depending on the quantity, it's going to tell me what my discount is. So I need to do a lookup, VLOOKUP. And what I'm looking up is this number right here. The table array is right here. I don't really need to give it a name this time because I'm not copying it. And the column number is 2. Click on OK, and there it is. If I change this to 1,000, it should change to 9%. You can also do text keys. These last two examples will involve text keys. I'm going to put in a name, and I've got a phone list here, and I'm going to have the Excel and the VLOOKUP function look up the phone number for me. So let's say I want to know what Haas's phone number is. Type his name in, and let's do a VLOOKUP. And what I'm looking up is the name here. Where I'm looking it up is in this table here, which has the keys in ascending order, text keys this time. And the column is column 2. Click on OK, and it tells me Haas's number is 9222, which it is. Let's try Adam, and his number is 2999, and that's correct. Now let's try something here. Let's see what happens if I type Adam with a space on the end, or a couple spaces on the end. Does it still work? It does. Now let's try what happens if I put a space on the front of Adam's name, and then it does not work. Okay. Now it's also possible, so you need to be kind of careful when you spell the names. Make sure you get an exact match. And the other possibility here is they're not in order. Still not a problem. We'll just use that fourth argument and set it to false. The value I'm looking up is the name here. The table array is this data here. The index is column 2, and they're not in order, so I want to search until I find an exact match. And it tells me that Adam's number is, here's Adam, 2999. And let's change this. Let's see. George's number is 9876, and it works. And that's pretty much how the VLOOKUP function can be used to take the place of a whole bunch of nested if statements.